John. Susan's husband's. Issues here, so
Okay, no, I haven't heard that. Yeah, so I don't have to check test. I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Rhonda? Rhonda, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, this is Steve. I'm going to announce that I'm treasurer, so I'm running the meeting today because our president and vice president aren't here.
Okay.
I'm sitting right next to Sean, but you can hear me just fine, right?
Yeah, I can. Yep, you're good.
I'll try to talk into the mic as much as possible too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody.
But is be closer.
Little unusual start to the day. We don't have Barb Hendren, our president, or Mike Harris available, our vice president for today's meeting. If you don't know me, my name is Steve Boris. I'm the acting treasurer, which makes me third in line. So I'm going to run today's meeting. And we'll try to make, with the help of Sean and the rest of the board, we'll try to make this as smooth as possible. So with that said, it's 9:01. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Not sure if everybody's aware of it, but these board meetings are now being recorded. We've been advised to read the following statement due to that. As permitted by Illinois law, all open portions of this board meeting are being recorded and will be posted on the association's website. By attending and participating in this meeting, you are consenting to be recorded. Simple, straightforward enough. Okay. We're getting some feedback up here. Okay, item 4.0, we're up to 4.0. Approve, adopt minutes from the February 19th, 2022 executive session and regular meeting. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Tom? I'll
second that.
That's 40. Any changes? Hearing none. I have a vote to approve. Aye.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. 5.0 treasurer's report.
No, we need to also
Oh,
do the
sorry.
regular minutes for the regular meeting. That was just the executive session.
Okay, I thought we were doing both.
Nobody said that in the motion.
The motion wasn't both.
I read executive session and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken.
Yeah. Is that how we usually do it?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we do it as one motion.
Okay, so that's what I thought. Treasurer's report. So Ashley, who's been our project manager on our conversion of North Star, the new members portal, that I'm hoping everybody's had a chance to get onto it. It's really pretty slick. It really helped us this year with our whole assessment. Really kept a lot of members to do things online. Well, she's been our project manager, which has taken a lot of her time, but she was able to get me some year-end numbers. This came to me, rather late yesterday, but we do have year-end 21 numbers now. So I did review her summaries. I haven't got into the detail. I'm going to do that with her next week. But, and I do have some extra copies up here if anybody wants to see them, but we basically had, more or less a break-even year, which, is good. You budget, you put a lot of time into your budget. If you can come in at or under budget, that's always a good thing. So we came about $20,000 in operating ahead, a little over $20,000 ahead of a budget positive. Most of that had to do with the volume at our at the pro shop. Revenues generated from food and beverage was a big lift, and a lot more rounds of golf this year. So I don't know if COVID had an effect on people staying here instead of going to the Cubs game or something. But that's probably the biggest thing. We are seeing some hits to the budget we prepared. You prepare the budget well in advance of what's actually happening. But we are starting to see some of those wage that I've been talking about for months, some of those wage increases that we're seeing across the nation starting to slip in. So we'll have to address that this year's budget process, but things are looking good. We got a balance sheet. It's solid. We have, we're in a good position. We've been kind of saving money for some of the big projects that are on our plate, including the flood mitigation, the dredging. So everything's looking really good. We do have meetings set up with our outside accountants not this month, but in the next couple of weeks. So they're going to audit these numbers. So that's a requirement of the association to get audited financials every year. So I looked over the consolidated. I'm going to look at the detail next week, and then our auditors will do a full audit. So we'll report back to you on that. But 21 ended up being a pretty good year for us. So that's all I've got on the treasurer's report.
Thank you, Steve.
That's tough. Committee commission, so 6.0 committee commission reports. Anybody want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So, as far as the deer committee goes, we did not meet, but we did have a second deer count on February 26th, I believe it was. Yes, February 26th, and that deer count was 91. Now, just as a reminder, we had a deer count 2 weeks prior to that, and we had 98 for a count that day. So as far as just our next major project here for the deer committee is get our archery range up and going for the year and get ready for youth shoot. So in strategic long range planning, we met on February 25th and we went over to Sean's dashboard as far as the 2022 dashboard to see how far we were on our goals through the year through February 25th, which we went through that dashboard and it looked fine. We also talked, Steve had a very nice section as far as a 5-year financial projection, because we are now working on our 2023 plan on a page. So when we work on that, we kind of need to know where the monies are, and we're fortunate to have a treasurer on this committee. So so that's helping out very well. Our next meeting is actually March 25th.
Okay, thanks, Gordon. Who else do I have?
I can do trails this one, Steve. We have our first meeting coming up on the 26th of this month, but you might have noticed on the agenda we have in front of the board today, our location for our new dry crossing at North Bay. It's been approved by ACC. It's been in the works for about 2 years, which is a big project for us, and it will be a concrete flex core bridge going across there. So we'll keep the water crossing also. That's one of our next projects too, is to work on that. But that will be on the agenda today to be approved. So if anyone's interested, come on out to the next trails meeting on the 26th. Thank you.
Okay, Barb's not here, but she's the board liaison for 3 commissions, and she sent me an email with what they all talked about. So AECC met on March 5th. We approved revisions to the energy code policy to delete the ground array variance for solar panels. Approved the location for a dry crossing bridge at the North Bay Stream Crossing, and approved a lot combination. Board policy met on March 2nd. We continue work on the 8,000 section dash operations. Nominating committee met on March 3rd. We finalized arrangements for the Meet the Candidates event on April 9th at 1 p.m. Thank you to all those candidates. We got William Becker, George Strogas, Mark Costco, and Laura Pratt running, so thank you all. Rules and regs met on March 4th. We reviewed more housekeeping items from staff and our legal counsel. We started a new discussion on a type of recreational vehicle, which will be taken to the Trails Commission this month. So Barb sits on all those. The only other ones John, do you have anything from rec?
We had the Derby last weekend. It turned out well. Had a good turnout. I think there was 28 people, maybe. I don't remember, to be honest with you. It's pretty good. The only thing that we're really stressing is the volunteering. We're trying to come up with some sort of a plan for volunteering, because we really need a lot of volunteers for everything that we try to be planning this year. We talked about donating into the pavilion, which is still gonna be going on. We're gonna still talk about it. Other than that, nothing.
Okay. Anybody else?
Conservation?
Paula, yep. Save the best for last.
Not sure that's true. Is it on?
Yep.
Thank you, because you know I can't do it myself. We met the first Saturday of this month, and we accomplished, thanks to some of our members, I believe it was Mike York, Mike Kamick, and was it Bill Brown?
Yes.
And Burrell, who went out and dropped 20-some odd trees for fish structure. Some of them were actually placed on the ice with weights and will drop down when the ice melts. Others were latch cut so that they remained attached to their trunk but fell into the water. We've been advised over and over again by Joe Rush, our lake consultant, that we need more fish structure. So we got more fish structure in there. We also finalized a memo of advisement to you folks. I think it went into your packet on zebra mussel management. And I see that there is a motion to be voted on. We didn't feel it was our place to give you a full motion, but we gave you our best researched advice. And that I think is what we're called to do. Also, we were very excited. We got a foundation grant to do a wetland garden. And Mike York has been the driving force behind that. Hopefully you guys are gonna okay it because it's not only going to be very attractive, but wetlands are natural filters of the water that's coming into the lake. And that's that kind of thing that you might not even know there's a stream there. It's a pile of cattails that if you're facing the fish house, it's to the right. But there is there, and we'll be able to see it once this project is done, assuming you guys vote positively on that. And of course you will, right? That's what I'm conclusion. We are lacking in the water monitoring group. We have enough to do it, but you know, if somebody's on vacation or can't go that day, we really need a couple of backups. And we're gonna be reaching out to the community for that. And if monitoring, that zebra mussel monitoring plan, we're gonna need more bodies to be able to pull those discs up and do that part of it too. So we're gonna need that.
So it's a complete monitoring is a commission, you're saying you're.
They don't want, they want to be a commission, but they want me to do all their work as far as their reports and things like that. Yes, they are separate from us,
Okay.
but we talk about, we do water monitoring report every month at our own commission meeting.
Okay, yeah.
And Kim Reese has resigned from the commission, and that's a very major hit to
Let's do
the,
that.
to the group.
Yeah, I've got somebody that came to me, so.
Okay, good.
Okay, anything else?
Thanks, Paula. Thanks
You're
everyone on the
Thanks, Paul.
conservation committee. Okay, 7.0, Sean.
I guess I've just got one, the multi-sport ad hoc commission, working on the tennis courts. So we've got a group, they're not official yet because we don't have them on the consent, but they are still working on the tennis courts. This past week, we had a conference call with civil engineers that are out of Freeport, and they actually are involved in Crate Park tennis courts and also Reading Park and tennis courts, both in Freeport. They're also been involved with Galena Territory tennis courts. So he gave us some ideas to think about, but right now that group is looking at, if we stay in the same footprint that we're in right now, some dedicated pickleball courts, one tennis court, and still keeping basketball. But we're also looking at, is there a chance that we could expand it all within our budget and possibly go a little further north and add more dedicated pickleball courts. So they're working, their goal would be to have an RFP out sometime end of April with hopes that possibly after Labor Day that that job could be started. So they're continuing to work.
You have an update on that?
Flood mitigation did meet after the workshop last month. They went over the design, and the majority of the members were in the workshop last month with the board. Their design, or they're coming up with some specific questions that they have for Ted at CMT to finalize with the labyrinth weir and some last discussions about the spillway. So that's going around in emails with the commission. Once we finalize that, we'll have a meeting with Ted and get him on a Zoom so we can answer those. And then they also talked about the survey that's in the packet today for approval. We didn't take a motion with the commission, but they are in favor of proceeding with this survey. So.
Okay, so it's you right into your general manager report, 7.0.
Okay, busy times. We did close the trails yesterday with the rain. It's getting wet out there. So this is kind of an annual thing in the spring, let the frost get out. So we'll close them for a few weeks and then get them reopened here soon. As far as the assessment at this point, we've got about 108 that haven't paid, which is actually very good for us at this time. Last year, the Budget Commission added a late fee, not only in March, but in April and May, and that really seems to work to get people to pay if they haven't paid by March 1st. So that's working well. We ended up with about 28% of owners paid online, about $825,000 went through online. So, which is wonderful first year. We want to get that to 50 though. If we can get 50% of owners paying online, I think it will make a huge impact on the office. We definitely saw an impact this year. March 1st, which is usually a crazy day for the office, was actually pretty quiet. So people took advantage of that online, having the forms online so they can just fill everything out definitely helped. It's just more education and getting more people to get to the website for that. Next week is the campsite swap and assignment. We only have one campsite for that, okay? Only one was given up this year, so there'll only be one there. The 5 sites that we're working on will not be ready for this, so those sites will be rented this year on a nightly basis. Next year, a few of those will be assigned. We're not going to assign all 5 of them, but we will assign some, but that'll be next year. We didn't get approval until November because we had to get all of our ducks in a row with the county, and they had some time to get that work done, but before the weather came, and we still have frost in the ground right now, so we're not able to get out there right now. So that's what's going on there. And then next Saturday is the slip swap. So anybody that has a slip can swap at that point. And then a week after, April 2nd, will be the assignment and the sub-license. There are 13 slips this year that were given up, so those will be in that. The 32 new slips will not be assigned this year either. And the reason for that is we'd like them to be in the lake before we assign them. And obviously we still have ice out there. So those 32 will go in a 1-year sub license this year. And then next year, those will all be assigned. So those new slips are ready to go. We're just waiting for ice out before we can get those in. So next week is the swap. And then in a week after that, April 2nd is the assignment, and then also the sub license for that. So, and then also April 1st, the campground will open. I would say at this point, unless things change, just the bathhouse will be open. Water to the sites will not be open yet. And then the golf course will be open too. And I know the boys have been on the course picking up sticks and that it's still very wet, but hopefully all will go well for having the golf course open by then too. So, okay.
Thanks, Sean.
Yep.
8.0 President's Report will be in the Apple Core. 9.0 Property owner comments. Just remind every property owner that does want to speak today, you are limited to 3 minutes. You want to start?
Talking to me?
Give your address or your property number.
I'm Joe Weiner. I'm at 227 Cherry Lane. And I would like to know, does Mr. Gopchek have any financial gain if the Zebra Mussel project goes ahead? I see that one of the things that you guys are going to be talking about today is the designated fund transfer. This has not gone before the AACC. The building inspector has not been able to go through the files and look at this list of old unrefunded bond fees, and also some of the numbers that are presented in the issue statement are correct. So I would hope that maybe you guys will send this to the AACC just to have them go through and tell the building inspector to check into the paperwork, and then you guys will be able to act on this next month.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe.
George Drogas, 848 Constitution. Couple of questions. Are we as an association following the 3-bid rule on all of this work that we're getting done here? And another couple of questions. With this crossing at the North Bay River, we should think about incorporating in that project redoing this wet stream pass into some kind of permanent structure so we don't have the stones washing it in North Bay. Thank you.
Marcy Stanger, 1317. Yes, I'm still here. I'm still representing Joe Carroll for you all here. Just an update with COVID. I think we've all learned to rely a lot on the internet. And Joe Carroll's magazine, I just wanted to alert you to all the good news. Joe Carroll's magazine, that Illinois magazine, hosts a lot of information. They also have the site on Facebook and Twitter, and just about anything else you are interested in looking at, you know, overall that I'm not getting to you, but I'm still available if anybody's got any questions. Of course, the biggest thing that's going to impact everybody is that probably that 2% rate increase that you're going to see on the April bill. I do have the breakdown on that was in the Illinois magazine. If anybody wants a copy of it, I'd be happy to give it to you. As you know, more and more the solar panels are going up, and that's a good thing. Just everybody, please remember to let Joe Carroll know so that you're involved with the net metering on that and you get something back. And for a safety precaution, they need to know they will inspect those panels. The other big thing that's coming up in the horizon, of course, are the EV stations. There is one that I believe is operational already now in Elizabeth. And I'm sure with the federal and the state monies behind it, we're going to see more of them. And given the current economy, I think we're going to see more electric vehicles too. The key to all of this is of course going to be battery storage, and they're working on that all over the world. They'll figure something out at some time. The other thing that I wanted to throw at you was Joe Carroll has a member advisory board. They probably meet 4 times a year, maybe. And John Asta has been a representative on that from here for a long time and has enjoyed it. And we've had a couple of other people that have come on and they've always spoke highly of it. But it's a good way if you want to find out or visit some of these generating stations or talk to people there. It doesn't takes maybe a morning,
20 seconds.
3-4 times a year. And I would encourage you to, if you have any interest in it at all, get with me or call Joe Carroll, and there's room for that. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Woody Williams, 15A4 Deer Run. I stand up here as a representative of the trustee of the foundation. So I just had a couple things in regards to the Apple Canyon Lake Foundation. The biggest project we have going on, which happens on April 30th, is it's our May Day auction. We're in the process of gathering all kinds of neat items that will be for sale. We'll have live auctions, silent auctions that night. So it's a big fundraiser program for us that night. So we're excited about doing this, and we're working hard to get as many items as we possibly can. And as Paula mentioned too, I wanted just to mention too, there are 2 items of business in our board packets today in regards to the grants we had recently awarded. So thank you.
Thanks, Woody.
Anybody else? Anybody else on Zoom have anything?
Nope.
No? Okay, thank you all. 10.0 consent agenda. So I have one motion I'm going to read for the committee changes and the appeals board decision being upheld. That motion is to approve the consent agenda items 10.1 committee commission changes to appoint Neil Nasico as chair and Leanne Killeen as secretary of the Recreation Commission, and appoint William Becker to the Legal Commission, and 10.2 appeals board decisions to accept the recommendation of the appeals board to uphold citations 0113, 0114, and 0115 issued to both. Motion?
So moved.
So move a second.
Tom?
Tom?
I'll second it. Thank you, Sean.
Gordy, second. There's no discussion. So all those in favor, signify with an eye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So it's six ayes. Okay. Motion approved. 11.0 unfinished business. 11.1 rules and regulations, no wait. The Rules and Regulations Commission recommends to the ACL Board of Directors to approve the amendment to Section 6, Boating D General, to read, all boats shall be operated at a no-wake speed after sunset and before sunrise. The current rule reads 4.0, all boats shall be operated at a no-wake speed after sunset and before sunrise as established by the U.S. Weather Bureau, Dubuque, Iowa. The reference to the U.S. Weather Bureau, Dubuque, Iowa is no longer relevant. This Weather Bureau no longer exists and cannot be referenced. With modern technology, anyone can look up the sunrise and sunset times on their smartphone. This section was presented to the Board of Directors for first reading at their February 19th meeting. No additional changes were made. So the motion is to approve the Rules and Regulations Section 6, Voting D General as written above.
So moved.
Is that Bob?
Yep.
Okay,
Bob moves.
I'll second.
Tom second. Discussion?
Right.
Yep.
Pretty straightforward. Okay, all those in favor?
Pretty simple.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion approved, 6-0. All right. 11.2, rules and regulations, go-karts. Association office staff were presented with a vehicle purchased by a property owner identified as a go-kart by the manufacturer. By appearance, the vehicle did not fit our understanding of a go-kart, but because it had been identified as a go-kart by the manufacturer, it was not allowed to be registered. The current rules and regulations reads B, prohibited vehicles, 1, amphibious vehicles, go-karts, and 2 is, and three-wheel motorized vehicles are not permitted on the trail system. Go-kart is not defined anywhere else in the document. Staff requested that the Rules and Regulations Commission define what a go-kart is. That definition is go-kart, in quotes, a small vehicle having a lightweight body and a low ground clearance wherein the driver operates the vehicle with legs extended to reach the pedals. This section was presented to the Board of Directors for first reading at the February 19th meeting. Sean was asked if the insurance company had a definition of the go-kart. They did not. So the motion reads to approve the Rules and Regulations Section 12, motorized vehicles, recreational, A, definitions as included in the March board packet. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
That's Gordy. Gordy. Tom is second. Discussion?
So this motion doesn't solve the problem. The problem was the owner had this vehicle and it has the name go-kart on it, but it doesn't, it looks like UTV. Changing our definition doesn't fix its problem.
Well, it does, because I mean, the legs are straight out from what he
So
had.
would our definition say this is not a go-kart?
Our definition would say that is a go-kart, based on this definition here. So, now, I did talk to insurance and they don't have a definition. Now, one of our insurance agents is also a member at Lake Carroll. And he said that at Lake Carroll, they don't have a rule. Their only rule is their width. So he said they have these vehicles out here and they break down after 2 months. So he said they're junk, but people buy them because they're $3,000. And he said, you see them, they've broken down on the trails. So this, you know, Rules and Regs been working on this for a year and a half.
So it's the trail committee.
And yeah, so you know, this might be the first step. It might not be the end of it, but at least it gives some teeth to the office. Assuming that we don't want those vehicles on the trails. It might be one of those that, you know, hey, we've got something now, but we continue to work on it. And, you know, as we see with UTVs and everything else, there's always new stuff coming out. So we've always got to be on top of that to make sure that we're updating the rules as we go. So
The definition, I think, is pretty lame.
Aaron, we've thrown around many options, you know.
It says it has a lightweight body. You know, during the past 70 years, I must have owned 6 of them. None of them had any bodies on them. They were not lightweight bodies, there were no bodies. And this says they have lightweight bodies. So it's just a poor definition.
And I would say if you've got a better one, please let us know.
Well, they actually, originally, it said for skeletal frame and somebody crossed it off. The original draft.
Okay.
In the definition. And that one was actually fairly accurate. So I don't know why they dropped it.
Didn't that one hold 4 people?
That, the one in question that this guy bought holds 4 people, which is very unusual for a go-kart.
Yeah, I've never seen a go-kart in my life that holds 4 people. 2 at the most, but not 4.
You have something, George?
Yeah, the reason this Chinese manufacturer named it a go-kart is some states allow go-karts off the trail, on private property or whatever, where they don't allow ATVs or UTVs. So this is the way this company tried to get around the rules by naming it a go-kart.
Well, they ran smack dab into a different rule that's gonna kill them.
Yeah. And the bottom line is, being on the trail committee and on rules and regs, and having a grandson that's 11 years old that races go-karts. The ground clearance there is almost 0 for a go-kart. So that was one of the things you could look at it right away and say, it's almost sits on the ground.
Yes, Joe.
And that is written here. Yep. Go ahead.
Couldn't you add in the definition that seat can't be below a certain height above the floorboards?
Well, that's what was included in the rules and regs, that the operator's feet stretch straight out.
What's your definition of stretching straight out? You can sit in a bench seat and your feet extended.
Yeah.
They're still going down.
Well, the thought was that the pedals were straight out. So, I mean, it's not like a UTV where you're sitting and bent legs.
It's like the old time
Yeah,
golf cart or go-kart.
correct.
The old
Right.
go-
But our insurance company said they would not cover this vehicle, right?
That they would cover that
No,
vehicle?
would not cover it.
I didn't ask him that because the person that came had coverage on it. So, I mean, there's insurance companies that are covering,
Our insurance company won't cover it.
but our insurance company doesn't cover an owner's vehicle.
I
That's
don't
why we
remember
were-
the exact wording, but what, the last time I had one, the issue was our insurance company said, you cannot let that on your trails. We will not cover Apple Lake Property Owners Association if you allow that on your trail.
Yeah.
It was our indemnity insurance.
I mean, that's not what they told me this time. You know, and what he said is that here, we don't define them and we allow them at Lake Carroll.
He's got insurance on it. He's covering, he's got to have the policy onto it.
And we're not gonna sticker it unless they have the required insurance.
But currently, our rules say we do not allow go-karts.
Correct, but we don't define a go-kart. Now, the only reason we said no to this is because go-kart was in the name. It looks very similar to a Razor, and that's what this owner brought up.
Yeah.
The specs are almost the same, and we allow a Razor. So,
It's just go-kart was in the registration, right? Go-kart was in the registration.
it's in the name.
It's in the name, yes.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
So,
Did this, by sitting in this vehicle was the owner's leg straight out?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Was he a kid or an adult?
Adult.
so if we approve this today, or if we vote on this today and it gets approved, rules and reg you're gonna have to work on this one, I mean, you could always bring it back to change.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's a start.
It's a start, at least gives you
I'm
something
assuming
on-
it's not
yeah.
the end of this.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Like you said, there's new machines coming all the time.
Yeah,
Continue
But
to-
I mean,
It gives security something to go off of to base a go-kart on when these things are brought forward.
Right.
Because they're only $3,000.
Yeah,
They might show the specs of a Razor, but they're definitely not a Razor.
and having heard from George and a couple of you people on rules and regs, I can kind of see how you wrote, I'll read it again, it says, this is the definition, go-kart. A small vehicle having a lightweight body and low ground clearance, wherein the driver operates the vehicle with legs extended to reach the pedals. So it kind of, when you guys in rules and reg wrote that,
Right, yeah.
you kind of took in all those elements.
Well, I wanted to add one more thing. It's propelled by a lawnmower engine.
but we found different types, so that's why we didn't go with that. So,
They had to be in the seat.
yeah,
They couldn't be sitting up like this with their legs extended. They had to be in the
George,
seat.
with this definition, that thing your grandson races, by this definition, it's not a go-kart. The thing your kid races doesn't have a body.
Yes, it does. It has plastic sides on it.
It's a
They
racing
have to have a
go-kart.
lot.
Yeah,
Some
the race.
go-karts have.
Yeah, he races at Dousman.
What?
You can pull up Dousman on the
Yeah.
internet and watch the races. They do have bodies. It's segmented, but it's not a fully enclosed body.
Does it go as fast, George, as this guy's go-kart does?
Faster, probably.
how fast is that your grandson's go?
At 30 miles an hour.
30 miles an hour.
And then this thing go like 85 or something?
We used to race them, they went 60, 70 miles an hour back in the day, so. And then we had side bodies on it too, and we also raced quarter midgets. And they were still classified as go-karts. No suspension, direct steering, linkage, no rack and pinion. Basically sitting on the pan, it'd be a little elevated cushion seat. But we raced at the old Raceway Park in Calumet Park, and our go-karts used to go easily 60 miles an hour. Really? Yeah.
How big
No,
was the
no
engine?
seatbelts either, ask me how I know it should have. We had two-stroke engines.
Okay, so.
Here, I guess-
Well, we get,
Yeah, I guess what I'm looking for here is, I mean, here, like I said, Rules and Regs and Trails have been working on this for over a year now. So, I mean, if this is the start, great. If you guys have some ideas for them on how this can be improved, send them, please, so that we can continue. But give us this today, because this is the best we came up with in the past year, and we've gone through hours of discussion.
Hours and hours.
And
George has
so,
spent a lot of time on this. But this is a good start.
Well, it's both. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained.
Abstain. You're gonna need to do a roll call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta do a roll call. Okay,
Okay,
you want, so Tom? I'll just go with it.
okay.
Are you-
Aye.
Aye. Gordy?
Yes.
Bob?
Abstain.
Abstaining. Henry?
Yeah, aye.
Who else is John?
Aye.
No one.
We need you, Stu.
Nolan's not on. You're the only other one.
We don't have four.
You do.
We
You
have
have 4
four.
eyes
Oh,
right now.
okay, I vote aye. Okay, so five.
Okay.
So the
It passes.
president can vote in order to change the decision.
So, yeah, we have 5 and 1 abstention.
Correct.
So the motion will pass.
Okay. Should I take Ron to that? We did like a 6-0 on everything. She was five. No, okay, all right. Okay, motion approved. Next on the agenda. 12.0 new business. Okay, 12.1. Lot combination agreement. James and Jennifer Heidenreich have requested a lot combination of lots 9 and 10 in the Fairway 11 subdivision. This request was reviewed and approved by Architectural and Environmental Control Committee at their March 5th, 2022 meeting. Motion is to approve the lot combination agreement requested by James and Jennifer Heidenreich of lots 9 and 10 in the Fairway 11 subdivision. Once recorded, a lot combination agreement may not be revoked or rescinded.
So moved. Bob.
Is that Bob?
A second.
Tom will second. Discussion? Forward, yep, you guys ready to vote? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5 ayes. 12.2 of new business, Conservation Commission Wetland Garden Project. At their February meeting, the ACL PO Foundation awarded a grant to the Conservation Commission to restore the wetland garden located near the Marina parking lot. The Conservation Commission is now asking for approval from the board to start their project in this location. The project will address a neglected weed ditch in a heavy traffic area. The goal of the project will be to remove all weeds and invasives to expose the beauty of this natural creek with a beautiful natural wetland pool full of water plants such as lily pads and other flowering plants. This wetland garden will have year-long visual interest. All plantings will be low-maintenance perennials to minimize maintenance and prevent the site from degrading in the years ahead. The motion is to approve the Conservation Commission request to restore the wetland garden area located near the Marina parking lot. I get it first.
So moved.
That's Gordy. Second.
I'll second.
Discussion.
I think this problem, I think this project's really gonna take a real eyesore away from us down there. It gets pretty gnarly, actually, and this will clean up that area real nice.
I think Mike York's more of an artist than he says he is.
Yeah.
He had a nice rendering here, but yeah, I agree 100% with Corey. Clean up that little area down there and make it look nice.
This was also one of and projects that was developed by Applied Ecosystems a couple of years ago for the watershed project. So yeah, it's great that conservation's taking this on. It was going to be on our list anyway. So yeah.
And thank you, Foundation, for donating to them for this.
You're welcome.
And also the board should be invited to that celebratory party at the end.
Which was not approved.
Yeah, it wasn't approved, but
Hey, the whole-
I think Paula said she'd throw $100 in for it. Joe didn't know that, but. Yeah, but thank you guys for taking this on too.
Yeah, thanks, Mike, and everybody on conservation. This is a great project to see coming up. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Four ones and I.
Well, let's make sure. Anybody abstaining? No, so I got 4-1. I'm gonna vote yes.
So we have 5-1.
5-1.
Motion carried.
Motion carried.
Henry.
Anything in discussion, it's all realized. So we'll keep moving. Okay. 12.3. Garden Club project. At their February meeting, the ACL Foundation awarded a grant to the Garden Club to expand use of the common property near the clubhouse for the beautification of this area and for the purpose of education of our membership in Apple Canyon Lake. The foundation of Apple Canyon Lake Property Owner Association has granted okay, I'll just keep reading what's written. Has granted the Garden Club $935 towards the Children's Garden Project and $1,120 towards the Adventure Program, a total of $2,035. The Garden Club is now asking for approval from the board to start their project in this location. The motion is to approve the Garden Club request to expand use of the common property near the clubhouse. Do I have a first?
So moved.
Tom? Second?
I'll second.
Gordy is seconding. Discussion?
Yes, that 2035, I believe that should be 2055.
Oh. Okay.
Do the math on that. In my minutes, it's 2055 for my foundation minutes. You do the math on that, I think it should be 2055.
I think it's probably just a typo.
It's just a typo.
And
Yes.
as long as we're tight, is it the ACLPO Foundation or
Yeah.
ACLPOA Foundation?
Yes.
So the A should come out of this, the foundation, oh no, right?
Yeah. See,
When I was reading
yeah, yeah, right there.
So can we flip that to be the same, right? Am I reading
Yeah,
it wrong?
that's not your motion, so that's just your.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
it's
got you.
just- That's no big, we don't have to change the motion.
We're just approving it and the dollars and everything.
We're just approving the use of being
Okay.
able to continue work here in the children's garden. That's
Right.
what we're doing.
Right.
Exactly.
So for everybody, I'm just gonna read the motion again. To approve the Garden Club request to expand use of the common property near the clubhouse. That's the motion. Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Keep that 5.
Aye.
Okay. All right. 12.4. Designated fund transfer. At the time of submitting house plans for approval to the AECC, a $500 debris bond must be paid, which is returned after all the debris from the project has been cleaned up. Through the years, several debris bonds have not been claimed. The association's financial manager has a reconciliation of the architectural liability account in our general ledger, but it only shows details since 2019 and has an unreconciled beginning balance of $9,400. We are seeking to close the architectural designated fund by approving the transfer of $9,400 from that fund to the Memorial Pavilion designated fund. The transfer will clean up both the unreconciled beginning balance of the general ledger account and the designated fund for architectural. The funds collected to date in the Memorial Pavilion Fund are deficient when compared to the anticipated construction costs to complete the pavilion. This transfer will help offset some of that deficit. The motion is to close the architectural designated fund by approving the transfer of $9,400 from the architectural designated fund to the Memorial Pavilion designated fund. Can I get a first?
So moved.
Tom? Second?
I'll second.
Gordy?
I think we should hear from Joe.
Yeah, me too.
After what Joe brought forward, we need to.
Yeah, and I have some insight on it as well, but Joe, if you want to go first, yep.
Hi, it's Joe Weiner. I'm speaking as the building inspector for Apple Canyon Lake. The AACC has not had a chance to review this or to ask the building inspector to look into this. And so I would like the opportunity to do that over the next week. And we do have records of building permits that have been approved that date back, like 10 years. So it's possible that the building inspector could go through the permits that we have on file in an Excel spreadsheet for each year, that we could then look and see who has debris bonds that haven't been refunded. The other thing is that these debris bonds typically cannot be released without a final grading inspection by the building inspector, and it needs to be have a final certificate of occupancy from the county. Now, the county does not pursue property owners that have done work and then haven't asked for the final certification. And there are property owners that they don't know, that they need to do this. And they also may not be aware that the contractor has put the money in. So I would like an opportunity to go ahead and look at the paperwork that we have on file, because there's always a little ticket too that Rick Paulson and Steve have put into the file, recording the date. So we might be able to find this out, and we could have it before the committee, the AECC, for its next meeting on April 2nd, which would then be able to be looked at by the board.
So are you saying that some of this money we actually might owe back to property owners?
Oh, yeah.
They just don't know it.
Right. And a lot of times, money, unclaimed money has to go to the state. So I just like an opportunity to take a look at the paperwork.
Yeah, and you'll work with Ashley then. Because
Yeah, I'm afraid I have a list and that I've called for people for the last couple of years, but I didn't realize that they were looking way back either.
Yeah.
So I hadn't looked at that, but yes, I'll work with Ashley to tell her, and then I'll also make a report to the AECC.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so in my background, I'm an accountant, I've started new jobs, and the one thing I always like doing, and I think I've said this at other boarding, is reconciling and cleaning up like balance sheets. A lot of times you have these accounts on balance sheets, like this is an accrual sitting on there, and when I asked the question, what's in that? Well, we don't really, Ashley doesn't have a reconciliation from before when she kind of got here. So I was like, well, what if we just clean it up? So I'm always trying to clean up and keep your balance sheet kind of clean. So that's what brought this today. But I guess I didn't realize we didn't go back. So
Steve, it's my
so you guys,
opinion to
okay, go
table
ahead. The table, okay, yeah. So how do I just get?
Steve, I'd like to make the motion to table this item.
Okay, there you go. That's how you do it. Okay, and then we need a second then on that.
I'll second that.
And then do we vote?
Yep.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
Yes, thanks, Joe.
Okay,
You know, this came to light when we were looking at money that had been collected by a different committee, and they thought they had donated it to the pavilion, but they'd never done the paperwork.
recreation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so when Ashley, made these documents and showed how much that money was, suddenly there was this line item over here that said AECC
Yeah.
designated
Yeah.
fund. I'm going, whoa, we don't have a fund.
Right, it's called architectural, right? Okay. Okay, so it's been tabled. Just gonna make note of that. You should take a motion card. Okay, okay, so you're good then?
Yeah.
Henry. Okay. All right, thanks, guys. All right. 12.5, Tellers Commission Guidelines. Let's go back to this one. The Apple Canyon Lake amended and restated bylaws require that the Tellers Committee, not less than 2 months prior to the commencement of the annual meeting, adopt written Tellers Committee guidelines, which will describe the procedures it will follow to count all valid written ballots and all votes taken during the following year, which will be submitted to the board for approval. Tellers Commission Chair Pat Reeves has reviewed these guidelines and does not feel any revisions are necessary. Electronic voting is not being considered for 2022 Board of Directors election, but guidelines addressing electronic voting will be developed prior to 2023. So the motion is to approve the Tellers Commission guidelines as presented in the March board packet. Can I get a first?
I'll first, but I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Henry. Yep, so it was Gordy first, Henry second. Discussion? Yeah, kind of,
Straightforward.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to vote? And, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Okay.
Nice. Okay. 12.6. Concessionaire agreement coffee truck. Legal counsel has developed a concessionaire agreement that the association will use going forward with food trucks that sell their products on ACL property. The agreement details the products that can be sold by the concessionaire. Signage, hours of operation, financial arrangements, location, insurance, as detailed by the association insurance agent, in terms of the agreement, among other items. The agreement with that one place coffee truck states that coffee and non-alcoholic beverages can be served. The hours of operation shall be 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on weekends that they are invited out. The cost will be $25 per weekend, with the location for sales being in the Firehouse Fitness parking lot unless otherwise specified by the Communications and Recreation Manager for a recreation event. The motion is to approve the proposed concessionaire agreement with that one place coffee truck. Tom first, thanks. Second.
I'll second.
Okay, thanks,
Way to go,
John.
John.
John second. Discussion?
Looks like all the insurance is in place.
Yeah, she's got everything in place already. This will just be an annual thing with any food trucks that come in based on the same agreement we had last year. So no changes to that. It does have, it allows for Tim to book more dates for this as we go on also. So.
Anybody else? No. Okay.
Just a quick question. Like when we have the 5K run or anything else going on, we have the ability to tell them it's not available for that weekend?
Yeah, Tim will work with her and, you know, there's certain dates that are already set. And then they have other dates that they will book throughout the year where we say, hey, it would be great to have the, you know, the coffee truck here. So, yeah.
Okay, good question, Danny, thanks. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Five, so we're good. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, next item. 12.7, farmer's market. The Recreation Department requests that the Board of Directors allow local farmers market vendors to sell their produce and products on ACL property during an ACL farmers market. The farmers market vendor form, along with guidelines from the IDPH, details the products that can be sold by the vendors, hours of operation, financial arrangements, location, licenses required by IDPH, and insurance as detailed by the Association of Insurance Agent. The hours of operation shall be 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on Saturdays, June 1st through October 31st. The cost will be $10 per weekend or $75 for the season, with the location for sales being in the Firehouse Fitness Center parking lot. Motion is to approve a farmer's market in the Firehouse Fitness Center parking lot. Can I get a first?
So moved.
Gordy first. John, do you want a second?
Yes.
Okay, John second. Discussion?
Yeah, the insurance requirements on these folks, you know, we just covered the food truck insurance fees. I mean, these folks we need to have them show our proof of insurance for them. I mean, I don't see it to be any different.
To get this certificate that we're talking about, do they have, does the certificate require insurance? Maybe it's already taken care of.
I don't know, but it's not spelled out real well.
Right.
Okay.
You know, the commercial general liability coverage. I think they should have that. Workman comp, no, I don't think so, you know, being that, but I think we need some standards for and some documentation on insurance before they come in. Don't seem to be any different than a food truck.
All right, so they would just have to do a concessionaire agreement, right? I guess I was under that assumption.
I would kind of agree with that.
So this is just recreation asking us to do a farmer's market, but once you get a vendor that wants to come in, they're gonna have to fill out a concessionaire agreement,
Right.
which has all that insurance in it. At least that's the way I follow it to work.
I mean, we may have to,
That's
Do you
fine.
wanna,
We can do that.
we may have to,
You guys want to approve the farmer's market and then we'll bring back the people with the concessionaire agreements.
yeah.
just like we did the one truck?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't approve. I mean, I don't know, can we make a amendment to the motion?
We're just approving that they can have a farmer's market. We're
Yeah.
not approving that certain vendors, correct?
Correct.
You're just allowing her
Right.
to have a
Right.
farmer's market.
And then they're gonna have to bring back to us, just like the food truck, they've got a coffee truck, they're gonna have to bring back each one of those for our approval.
Perfect. I'm good with that. I just want to make sure this wasn't an open gate. Here we come.
Right.
More like
Right.
we're approving the concept.
Exactly.
Okay,
Right.
okay,
And then they can go out and sell the concept.
all right.
Everybody
I'm
good with
good.
that?
Right.
Yeah, that's why I
You're exactly right.
assumed.
That allows the recreation commission to go out and say, hey, we're gonna have a farmer's market.
Right.
But here's what you have to do.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
And they would have to get some sort of note or something from the office, right?
That Tim will, recreation, and we'll work out that, Tim and Kirsten.
Set the guidelines to
Right.
have their shop.
Yeah.
Who's got this form? So is it written, is that what you're saying, Gordon? You'd like to see it written in this page 2 form? That they have to sign a concessionaire agreement?
I'm going back to this, Steve.
Yeah.
In the last,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we're okay to approve the farmer market today? We're gonna vote on it?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, the concept. If it's just the concept we're voting on, I'm completely fine with that.
On the concessionaire form, it states a fee for each time, I believe. And for the farmer's market, you're saying a $75 fee for the season. So there might be a little bit of a conflict in there.
Well, we can just change it to the concessionaire form for the farmer's market, since it's a little different.
Okay.
Say it at the top.
You got anything else, John?
I don't.
Okay.
No.
Okay, all right, so I'll read it again. To approve a farmer's market in the Firehouse Fitness Center parking lot. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0. 5-0, guys. Okay. All right. 12.8. TT 5K beneficiary. The Recreation Department recommends and requests that the 2022 and future Trail Trekker 5Ks, TT 5K, benefit the What's Trump Relay for Life team with all profits donated to the organization after the event. The TT 5K is open to the public. Most runs of this nature benefit a charity or cause. The What's Trump Relay for Life team will help plan and run the event, will fill all volunteer positions, seek out sponsorships, and secure raffle prizes for the event. So the motion is to approve the Trail Trekker 5K, TT 5K, benefiting the What's Trump Relay for Life team in 2022 and future years. All proceeds will be donated to that organization after the event. Can I go first?
So
Tom? Second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Entertain.
Henry, second. So I got Tom first, Henry second. Discussion? All profit.
Okay, so for the Trail Trekker, I think it was last year that we went to working with the Relay for Life. What's Trump Relay for Life is a part of Apple Canyon Lake. It's our owners that form this, and they supply actually almost all of the workers needed for this event, which is a lot of volunteers, and we're struggling to find other volunteers. So it makes sense that they're the designee for this event. It's part of Apple Canyon, and we used to do the color run, and we found that kind of ran its course. And now if we can have a designee and somebody that the money's going towards, it pumps more, excitement into it. So rather than come back every year, what Tim would like to do is just say, this is our designee. I mean, they're here, they're Apple Canyon Lake, and it's good for the community. It's good for, for recreation. So that's why we're here today for this.
Did you want to say proceeds or profits? Isn't there some cost involved? Proceeds would mean everything.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you want to amend the motion?
I have a question. Now, I was under the understanding that the Relay for Life donates money to the Cancer Association, and will they always donate it to the same place that they've done in the past, or?
I believe so, yes, yes. Deb, can you speak to that? Okay.
Yeah, So when this says, so we're giving them exclusive all future years, would we want to say unless recreation someday wants to change?
Until further notice or until,
I know what they're trying to do is not bring it back every year.
right,
It says, and.
Maybe we just need to acknowledge it every year.
Trying to get around.
Why?
well, if it's the same designee every year, do they really need to come back every year? But if that's what the board prefers, that's fine.
Well, down the road, they could reach a point where they've run out of volunteers.
Right.
The people that are currently running it have gotten, beyond it.
That's, I mean, here, if you guys, if that's what you guys prefer, that's fine. Let's just, we can change it to 22. And then just every year we'll bring it back.
I think that'd be safe.
So
Just
amend the motion.
So amend the motion.
We're gonna amend the motion and just scratch out future
And
years,
future years.
And also proceeds.
and we're gonna change that to profits.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna switch that out.
So do Tom and Henry have to withdraw?
You need, no, you need a new motion for the amendment.
What do I do with the one on the table?
Well, that's still there for, we'll have to come back to vote.
I'll make the new amended motion.
I'll second Henry's amended motion.
I gotta vote on changing the motion.
Okay, can I get a vote on changing the motion?
Aye.
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 That was the vote.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, so we got 5 ayes on that motion.
Yep,
So we voted to change, now we gotta vote on it.
now you gotta, yeah. So now you vote on it.
So I'll read what I wrote down here, what we have. To approve the Trail Tracker 5K TT 5K benefiting the What's Trump Relay for Life team in 2022. We took out future years. All profits will be donated to that organization after the event. That sound right?
Yep,
Yep.
that's what I've got.
Okay.
Looking for a motion to approve?
It's already done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have me and Henry on the motion.
Yeah, you've already got that. So now you just need a vote.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 5-0. Okay. Okay, 12.9, North Bay Trail Crossing location. A structure providing a drive trail crossing over Hell's Branch has been approved. A location is required. Location constraints include overhead power lines, crane reach, weight, soil bearing capacity, and length of span. The opportunities have been investigated with the contractors. The best apparent choice has been presented. If the location is approved, engineering will begin. So the motion is regarding North Bay Arrowhead Trail Crossing at Hell's Branch to permit the location of a concrete bridge structure to provide a dry crossing over Hell's Branch as per the attached project site plan. The existing trailways to the dry crossing bridge may be improved as needed. Can I get a first?
So moved.
Tom first,
This is Mary B.
second.
I'll second it.
John Anderson,
Thanks, John.
second. Thanks, John. Yep. Discussion.
This was approved 2 years ago, I think the first year of the board,
In R&R, yeah.
in R&R 2 years ago. We've looked all around for different ways to build the bridge, and with Henry's recommendation, we went with CSI in Brown Town to build kind of a flex core concrete bridge over it. I think the guardrail is gonna be done in-house, right, Sean?
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah.
The approval that we went out, we looked at where it's at.
progress.
The motion says for weight and crane and everything, we come up with this location. Going back to what George had said about the water crossing, that's gonna be next on our agenda, George, we're good.
I think if we work on them together, it'd be a lot easier.
I know last fall, co-chair Al Henry had found something that we may be able to use in there. But that would be at our next trails meeting, we'll look at that.
Well, the only reason I'm pushing to get that done is because we're continually depositing rock
Right.
at the inlet up in North Bay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it needs to be addressed. I don't know that we have the money this year to address it, so,
Yeah.
but we'll talk about it next weekend, and if there's a way we can get it, that'd be great. We're gonna have a crane out here, so.
Right.
We have no real cost for this bridge. We have a $30,000 appropriated, but we don't know what it's gonna cost.
We feel we're right in budget.
And the other question involved is you're going to have to build approach ramps. And the approach ramps are going to narrow the opening for the water to flow through. The water flowed through that area almost 7 feet deep when we had the floods in 2017. And now you're narrowing that area, which means the road's going to stay wet longer and closed longer. And it's going to force more water around the other side of the impoundment, probably eroding the trail and everything on that side. So there's some serious questions that need to be looked at. The better place for the bridge would be between the hill and the berm, where the wooden bridge that was proposed by our previous temporary manager was.
We've had engineers out there, Henry, you know all of this, we've been through all of this.
You've been through the water flow in the area?
We had your friend, the engineer out there, we had him up here talking to us at trails 2 years ago when we started this project. We've been through all this.
He was going to put it further up and he had all the grades and the rest, and then he found out that we were redoing the stream.
It was in about the same location.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't on the berm.
I realized it wasn't on the berm.
We've never discussed the burning.
No.
It's been discussed before when Paulson brought it up. He had a set of drawings from the University of Wisconsin for building a bridge one across there. I mean, a wood one across there.
Correct. And Trails Commission decided that that's not what they wanted to do. They'd rather go with this route.
Well, the problem with the wood bridge that was designed, it was too narrow.
Yeah, 6 foot wide.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But even the concept of going on the berm was dismissed by Trails.
I don't believe that was the case, but
So, Henry, do you have a solution to what you're saying, Henry? I'm a little.
well, my solution, we put it up on the berm and the hill, because that means you're not changing the topography of that area at all. It stays the same.
Guys talked about it.
We've been through all this, we've had engineers out there, we've been through all of this.
Yeah. I mean, the project's been approved.
Yeah.
Project was approved by R&R in the R&R project.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and it was approved with the Trails Commission. This is actually just location.
Well, you can do whatever you want, but I most likely would end up going to the courts and asking an injunction until we can prove that it's not going to impede the water flow in the area.
If I might add a suggestion, that we get the Army Corps of Engineers out here, show what we want, and let them decide if it's gonna hurt the water flow under this bridge. Because if it's gonna create,
You guys know we've been through all of this. We've been in trails with wire, been through all of these guys.
Well, there's already a concrete bridge there, but it's for street traffic. If that bridge isn't impeding the water flow, why would ours impede it?
well,
Bob,
engineer,
Bob,
I just don't want to spend all this money on it and end up causing harm to the lake and to the stream and the surrounding area.
But
That's all.
I'm hearing Tom say they already had the.
We've had engineers out there, you guys sat there with us.
Bob,
Don't need to spend any more money.
Robert, Elger, the bridge north of there does not impede the water flow because it's set up that the water flows across the road when it gets that deep. And in 2017, that water was flowing across that road approximately 2 feet deep. His security and the rest could not get around the lake at that time using North Bay. Now, the water went down relatively quickly. I don't know whether it was down in 6 hours or 4 hours or what it was. But by building a berm there, we might change those dynamics. So it's going to be the road will be flooded twice as long. And that's what's concerning me.
You don't know that though.
You don't, yeah,
You're cutting down the flow. It has to make a difference.
we haven't cut any flow down, we've
All right,
been through
can
all
we
of
let
this.
Jill speak, but the ACC approved this,
7-0.
yeah, ACC approved this 2 weeks ago. Let's let Joe talk.
Go ahead.
Hi, as building inspector, I've had input on this location. And I'd like to point out that as the issue is described, engineering will be begun once the location has been approved by this committee. We haven't done final engineering. I'm familiar with these kinds of precast bridges, and this bridge will not require the erosion or the digging away or the closing of Hells Branch Creek when it comes through. It's positioned such that it's going to be about 20 or 30 feet above it's going to be at least 10 to 12 feet above the branch, Hells Branch, as it's going through.
The water.
And the piers that the bridge is going to rest on are out of the current waterway, and they will be dug into the side of the project. And as I said, the final engineering hasn't been done, and these things will be taken into consideration as the engineering is completed, the actual working drawings. So Henry's not visualizing this correct.
Joe, you got a minute?
Let Joe finish. Henry.
So, I mean, I just wanted to say the engineering hasn't been done. These kind of the water flow problems will be addressed. The location is based on where the crane is going to go. This thing's going to weigh like 75,000 pounds. It needs to have the crane be able to be in a certain position. Otherwise, the crane could slip and fall or slide, and there could be damage. So these things are going to be looked at, but they're not cast in stone yet.
Can I address what Joe brought up, please?
Henry, you have the floor.
Yes, Joe, about 25 feet from the creek, there is a sign that was for the trail. The post for that sign was about 5.5 feet tall. In 2017, there was straw on top of that post from the flood. So the water coming through there was 5.5 feet deep or more. And that's where your approach for the bridge would be. And you're going to have an approach on the other side. And that's going to make a de facto dam and narrowing of the whole area for that water to flow through.
Okay, Henry, Joe wants to rebuttal your comment.
Henry, the bridge across the road bridge didn't wash away. It was underwater. This bridge will likely, if we have another super flood like that, that will also be possibly be underwater. But remember, the big flood didn't have the swales and everything across the road to accept the water and to help divert it a little bit. But yeah, so it's going to go over the bridge, but the bridge is going to be on concrete piers that are set.
I'm not worried about the bridge. I'm worried about the approach
So the approach will have to be rebuilt if it gets washed away, but the trails are maintained all the time.
Flood mitigation is gonna make sure the lake never rises 5 feet again anyway.
Plus we're dredging the lake.
Okay,
No,
all right.
I'm okay with what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. And if you guys engineer it and find some fault, you'll bring it back to us. Yeah, yeah. Okay, is everybody ready to vote then?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay,
Abstain? And I'm a yes, so we got 5-1 on this.
5-1. Okay.
Henry voted no.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, got it.
thanks.
Thanks, guys.
everybody, for your input.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, especially Joe. 12.10. Zebra mussels monitoring system. Zebra mussels have been observed at Apple Canyon Lake in recent years, and their presence is becoming a nuisance for some lake users. The attachment of zebra mussels to boats, lifts, and docks, as well as concern for swimmers potentially getting cut on the shells of mussels, warrant further investigation. Discussions over the potential to perform a lake-wide eradication program utilizing a unique product, Earth Tech QZ, have been occurring with the board of directors, commissions, consultants, and membership. For the 2022 season, the association is discussing utilizing a monitoring program to evaluate the current zebra mussel distribution and growth throughout the lake. The monitoring program for Apple Canyon Lake utilizes substrate samplers that are deployed around the lake and plankton net tows to evaluate for vulgar enumeration and biomass. These can be useful for Apple Canyon to determine the zebra mussel population growth and also seasonal abundance. This program outline utilizes a program from Wisconsin DNR that utilizes citizen scientist assistance for monitoring lakes. This program can be used as a template for Apple Canyon monitoring and is designed to work with lake volunteers to reduce costs. The budget for this type of monitoring, utilizing citizen scientists to collect the data, would be approximately $8,500 to $9,500. This includes some time allocation for professional guidance to the volunteers and reporting. So the motion is to approve a lake monitoring program for zebra mussels designed by lake consultant Joe Rush that includes monitoring discs and volunteer help in tracking data for a cost not to exceed $10,000 with the money coming out of the capital fund. Can I get a first?
I'll first it.
That's John. Thank you, John.
John first. A second?
I'll second it for discussion purposes only.
Well,
We got Gordy.
You got
I
Gordy.
got Gordy. Yep. I thought I heard. Gordy. Okay, discussion. You want to go first, Henry?
I guess we've had people at other lakes offer to help us with a lake monitoring program for next to no charge. So why we want to spend maybe $10,000 on the process beyond me. We supposedly have a person on staff as a conservationist, and he could be trained in the proper way to monitor the collection devices, etc. It consists of putting these devices in the lake at various locations, and then every month or every 6 weeks, pulling them out, replacing them with another similar device, keeping track of where we take them out, and letting them dry out, and then weighing the amount of zebra mussels on these collection devices. It's not a high-tech thing, it's a thing that takes time and labor. I think they're talking 15 locations, but the people we've seen are willing to help us determine those locations and help us establish the program. And if we are using their guidelines, then we fit in with what they're monitoring, and more people can benefit it because everybody's using the same guidelines.
Whose guidelines?
The people from, what is it, Lake Stafford? He's offered to give us the help, to show us what the collection devices are. The supplier that's supplying him with the collection devices. I mean, in the thing that Joe Rush put forward, he was talking about using masonite. Well, masonite falls apart in water, so I don't quite certain. I'm not quite certain where that came from, other than the possible effect that maybe they just put new devices in each time.
Never heard the Mason thing, sorry.
Okay, so are you suggesting that we don't use Joe for this?
Yes,
And who is gonna be trained here? Just Tyler?
well, Tyler and possibly some volunteers.
Are you volunteering?
I would help with the situation.
When we have a lake consultant, I guess I don't know why we wouldn't use Joe.
Well, I don't even know what Joe gets paid. And I've asked him a number of times how the red-eared sunfish are doing, and he says he can't answer that.
I've got an answer from
If we're gonna
Joe.
buy them, we should know whether they're surviving or not.
I have an answer for you for that, Henry, from Joe, okay?
Okay,
I'll read it to you here. I sent him a message and just to ask how they're doing it at Lake Carroll, because Lake Carroll used them. I just have to find it here. They've stocked about 30,000 over the years. They have a spawning population that have not stopped for a while now. They have been surviving here, growing and recruiting. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head of how many they have, but they have been surviving and recruiting at Lake Carroll.
okay, well, that's the first time he's answered it.
Yeah, there was a message I sent him. I asked him how, the message I sent him, good morning, Joe. I got a quick question. Did Lake Carroll stock red ears? And if so, how are they doing? And the reason I asked is because you had mentioned that in conservation. I know they're northernmost climate for them, and that was his response. They've stocked about 30,000 over the years, and they do have a spawning and have recruited.
Anybody else with discussion? I guess I would just kind of echo what Sean said. I mean, we got this big problem called zebra mussels right now. We have a consultant, a lake consultant. I hate, I don't look at this as just throwing money away. I'm looking at it as you use the consultant, maybe get us up and running. This is like a first step of how we're gonna tackle the zebra mussel problem. It seems illogical to me not to have Joe Rush in this equation. Just, I'm a little scared of that. I mean,
And especially if we're gonna use Earth Tech this year as our
Yeah.
algae, which Joe and I have talked about, and I think would be a good idea, and he agrees, he's looking into that. So I mean, if you're using Earth Tech and we decide that we're gonna spot treat a few coves, and this monitoring system will help us determine, if those coves, if it's helping or not, I don't know why we wouldn't. I mean, so we're gonna have Joe come out and help us with the Earth Tech part, but we're not gonna use him for the monitoring.
right, and then Tyler is brand new. I think Joe can teach Tyler, and hopefully we're not approving another one of these. We can take this over ourselves someday. It's kind of how I'm looking at it. This is just getting us.
And
up and
Tyler's a big
running.
part of this, and he will be with Joe the whole time, and he
Yeah.
will be trained on this.
Okay.
And I see Tyler as the person that's kind of leading the volunteers for this. So that Joe
My
doesn't
question-
have to be here every time.
For 3 years, I've heard Joe Rush tell us there was nothing we could do about zebra mussels. Then when our membership researched and found out there was something could be done about it, now all of a sudden he's an expert on it. I don't quite understand.
I tell you, he's an expert, Henry. He's never admitted that to me on this. And here.
Then why don't we use the experts that have been doing this for 3 or 5 years?
Well,
Did we get a price from Earth Tech to see what they would charge to do this monitoring?
I don't think
they're offering that.
Yeah.
Dr. Hammonds isn't gonna be doing the monitoring. So
excuse me, this is Al Sopcich. Could I maybe add something into this? I have to be acknowledged to be able to give my opinion.
Yeah. Go ahead, Al.
Okay, so you all know, I think I even put this into a document to the board. Dr. John Sonnenberg from Highland Lake offered to provide Apple Canyon Lake with a couple monitoring devices. He also offered to give the document on how to use and monitor your lake for zebra mussels at no cost, okay? And how how a worker would actually go about it. Now, I understand it is a need, and it is important for that to happen, because monitoring is one of the items that Dr. Hammond actually talked about. Now, as we move forward on this, there are other companies of which I'm very well aware of, because I went to the MAPS conference, okay? Now, McLeod is a very good one, of which has put Earth Tech into Highland Lake and Valley Low Lake in Illinois. And they know how to do it, and they could actually train Kyle on that process. Now, as we move forward on this whole zebra mussel issue, we could get our people involved in the monitoring area for free. Now, but that's all up to you, you know. If you want to spend the $10,000 for him to do this, that's fine. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I guess, Al, I mean, if we hired McLeod, they're not going to do it for free, correct?
I'm not offering that they would do the work. I had never said that they would do the monitoring. I said that they would actually do the Earth Tech mitigation in certain areas, which is the algicide that you have to do, okay? Or want to do. I'm just saying we could do the monitoring on our own.
And that's the plan, is to monitor on our own as much as possible, but somebody's got to get us started. My suggestion is to use Joe, because Joe knows our lake, and Joe's going to be dealing with the Earth Tech. Now, if you guys want to go with, you know, this other person, I mean, I guess
Valley Low also said they would help us with this.
Yeah, Paul, please.
I'm just concerned about even recruiting the volunteers to do this. In case you guys haven't noticed, we don't have a bunch of people jumping up to do things around here like we used to. Now, perhaps because it's involved with the lake, we'll do better. But what I saw in the films, and I think this was in Dr. Hammond's presentation, but it might have, I've looked at so much. Those discs are dropped, and then periodically, whether that's once a month or twice a month, they're picked up and they're weighed. They're not cleaned off, they're weighed. So you drop them clean, pick them up, let's say your first month, you have a scale in the boat, you weigh them, you put them back, you come back next month, you weigh them again, and that subsequently shows the growth from 1 month to another, or hopefully the death from 1 month to the other. So we need the scales, we need the discs, we need somebody that's licensed. If we're going to use Earth Tech spot treatment, we need somebody that's licensed to apply that chemical, as far as I know.
Thailand is certified, isn't it?
I'm sorry, what was it?
Thailand is certified to apply applications to the lake.
Yes. So is Joe.
Joe is not.
He's not in the state of Illinois records.
Okay.
Anyway, we need somebody that's licensed to do that. And also, I believe those spot treatments, they have to be walled off so that the chemical remains in that area. And there may be, it sounds like there's multiple treatments to clear an area. So there really is, I think, a lot of steps here. And not to spend the initial money to at least maybe get it right on the small bit that we do to begin with, we're not going to get any decent results to evaluate where we go from here. So all I have to say.
How was the price of the $10,000 determined?
It was a quote from, so
What was that quote? What did that entitle?
Sean.
It includes the discs, it includes the scale, and then it also includes it's a sometime allocation for professional guidance to the volunteers and recording.
Well, I was just thinking about Lake Carroll because you brought it up, Tom.
Mhm.
Now, they've had red-eared fish for many, many years,
Right.
but they still have an issue with zebra mussels, correct?
Well, correct. I don't think nobody said that zebra mussels will eliminate or
I
that.
just need clarification.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't. They help
They will
control
help
them.
with the population.
And I don't think there's any way to monitor how well they do, but they are known to eat them.
Well, so do all our other fish in our lake, will eat zebra mussels. And that's
No,
the research.
that's not accurate.
No,
I
just-
disagree.
just
Well,
catfish.
they don't.
Yeah.
Catfish and red ear are, I think, the only two that eat them.
But Steve Nelson stated at the conservation meeting that he had friends in Michigan who caught several fish and they were loaded with zebra mussels inside.
Yeah.
Steve Nelson here.
No, Steve Nelson.
There's Steve.
Steve Nelson never said such a thing. The only fish that's known to regularly eat zebra mussels is a red-eared sunfish. That's what the data shows. That's what the
And the
scientific
pumpkin
papers
fish.
show.
Steve,
But
what
that-
did you say at the conservation meeting about the people in Michigan?
I don't even recall talking about Michigan. I talked about Minnesota.
No, it wasn't Minnesota.
Well, a friend of mine up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, ice fished on some lakes, and when he cut his fish open, he found zebra mussels in the stomach.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
he's
we're
not
not,
a,
right, we're only
not a
talking.
biologist or anything.
This is getting to be a zebra mussel conference. You know, we had a workshop on it. So we're back to the monitoring. I think there's been a couple of things. So, you know, in my years in business, someone once taught me, you know, there's three things: cheap, quick, and accurate. Pick two. So if we pick cheap, I'm guessing it's not gonna be quick or accurate. If we gotta get this on someone's plate, in my opinion. And if we wanna use Joe, great. If we wanna use somebody else, or maybe an ad hoc zebra mussel commission, I mean, someone's gotta champion the cause. So I think, you know, if we go with, you know, not so cheap, and again, relatively speaking, compared to the size of eradicating zebra mussels, this is a first step. You know, this isn't really cheap, but it's not hugely expensive, so if we go that, and then I guess the one thing I like to see is I like to see these things in the water quick. So the monitoring needs to start happening as fast as we can do it. So I'm willing to spend a couple bucks, put this on a guy's plate, get it done. Maybe that's what we need to tell Joe is we approve this, but we gotta move on this.
Right.
And then I'm assuming it will be accurate too. But go ahead.
Can we get an ad hoc committee together?
Yeah, that wasn't a bad thought I had, was it?
I mean, it's gonna help with your volunteers
Yeah.
for the eradication and the monitoring, whatever you need. You've got more brains in one group to come up with the
Yeah.
right solution for our lake.
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of that. So ad hoc? Sure.
Okay,
Can we
let's
motion
get
it?
back to the
No,
motion
okay,
here.
you can't. You can't.
Let's get back to this motion right now.
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay.
Is Joe Rush's in that bid, is he supplying the monitoring discs? And if so, how many?
Could be about to exceed.
Yeah, what's in your, I don't remember now. I remember when Joe was talking, I thought he was talking like 25 locations, correct?
10 to 15.
I think he said 10 to 15 locations, but I don't see anything as to whether he's supplying the discs and how
That's
many
part of
he's
the-
supplying.
That's part of the quote, yes.
It is part of the quote.
Yes.
And to correct Paula, you have to take the discs out and let them dry because otherwise you're weighing water and the water can be, depending on the clusters of zebra mussels, can be totally different. The amount of water held on the disc.
Do you want to add something, Paul?
Only that it would be the same amount of water every time we pulled it up, pretty much. You don't think that-
Paula, what the boats I've seen is like my boat had very few zebra mussels on it, so there wasn't a lot of water retention. I've seen boats with an inch thick of zebra mussels on them, and there's water between all those zebra mussels, so there is a difference in weight.
And there's definitely.
Sean, I got a question. Okay.
Yes.
We're dealing with 12.10. When I go to the second page, who is this Jad Echo?
That's Joe Rush.
Joe's company.
That's Joe's company.
Page 21 of this document says, unfortunately, once zebra mussels become established in a water body, it is unlikely that they will ever be eradicated. So it's gonna be kind of like Spanish flu. It's gonna be here forever. So we're gonna be able to control these a little bit. But we're not gonna eradicate them according to this. That's on page
Bob,
-21.
Yeah. And I
on
mean,
your
that-
question, Bob, there's 4 states out west that are going through a huge program to inspect boats and the rest to keep their lakes and waters from being infected. Okay? The lakes that are infected, unless you have a good program to monitor what comes in, you will never get rid of the zebra mussels. You are completely right. The question there is what it takes to set up a program and how inconvenient that might be.
Expensive.
Didn't the one guy at the workshop, when we first started this, didn't he say, like, we've had these zebra mussels for a really long time? Now they're just multiplying and they're getting to their peak and they should go back down?
Well, you'll always have them, they'll plateau.
Right, you're never gonna get rid of them.
There are lakes that have gotten rid of them, but it's only because they monitor what's coming in, so they're not reinfected.
Yeah, that, I guess, to answer John's question, that'd be if we did nothing, yes.
But he's also said we've had them for a while. It wasn't just last year. They probably might have hit their peak.
2019 is the first year.
It's 5 to 6 years before they hit their peak, and I think we've had them for 3.
I've never noticed them until last year.
I agree.
I didn't see them before last year either.
So we're ready to vote on this, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to factor in if we did do a zebra mussel ad hoc, you almost want them to like do more research, but if you want to get the discs in the water quicker, we should approve it today, so I'm kind of torn between the two of those.
We could probably do
I
both.
guess, huh?
We can probably do both. We can vote to get the discs in the water. Do it our vote. Ad hoc committee start working after we've.
After the fact?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then, I'll read it again, just so everyone knows what we're voting on. To approve a lake monitoring program for zebra mussel designed by lake consultant Joe Rush that includes monitoring discs and volunteer help in tracking data for a cost not to exceed $10,000 with the money coming out of the capital fund. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Abstain? I'm voting yes, so it's 5 yeas, 1 nay. Henry voted against.
Yep.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
a perfect plan, but it's the best one we have. in front of us.
And I just leaned over and asked Sean about the ad hoc. We're gonna bring that to the board next month, so.
I realize we voted to pass this, but the question I have is this a yearly fee from Joe Rush?
I'm sorry?
Is this a yearly fee?
No, I mean, the hope is that, I mean, the discs, well, this includes the discs, and this includes education. So again, if we can educate Tyler, we can educate this commission on how to do this. I mean, the use of
Then
Joe
we can
would
take
be,
it and run with it.
yeah,
Okay,
be
that's the hope.
in-house, yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
And
That's
I,
$10,000 at the most they can do.
but
Why are you waiting to get a head hoc committee together?
it's not on the agenda today.
There are a lot of things that aren't on the agenda today that should be on the agenda.
All right.
Okay, let's move on.
Move on.
man.
Yep. 12.11, survey of spillway. The next step in the flood mitigation project is to survey the spillway. The survey results will be used for the preparation of construction plans for the following improvements: new labyrinth spillway and channel construction, demolition of the existing concrete weir wall, deepen the approach channel, lower the lake bottom, upstream of the new spillway, raise the crest of the dam. The reason for separating out this work from the spillway design is to complete the survey before the leaves sprout in the spring. Heavy vegetation will reduce visibility and increase the effort and costs. The proposal from CMT includes mapping the rock spillway channel bottom and walls and the concrete weir wall. It also includes surveying the lake bottom, the hillside above the channel walls, and the crest of the dam. CMT is proposing to perform the survey on a time and expense basis not to exceed $19,000. The motion is to approve hiring Crawford, Murphy, and Tilley, CMT of Springfield, Illinois, to perform a survey of the spillway channel and surrounding area for a cost not to exceed $19,000 with the money coming out of the capital fund. Can I get a first?
So moved. Who is that, Bob?
Yes,
Bob. Okay.
Second,
I'll second it.
Gordy, second. Discussion?
Steve,
Yeah, go ahead, Henry.
I don't have their proposal in front of me. What did they say it would cost us to use LiDAR to do that? Wasn't it about the same number?
19 to 26.
Yeah, I didn't get it either, so.
Okay, there's a big advantage to LiDAR. LiDAR will go through trees and brush. The greening of the foliage does not affect it. And generally, when they do the LiDAR, it's of a bigger area because it's done with an airplane at some altitude. And all of that information is recorded on a disc. So doing the LiDAR would probably give us the spillway, the base of the spillway, the top of the dam, both banks, and downstream a little distance. And I think for the additional money, it'll give us better results and it'll be on a disc that can be used for the next 20 years instead of having a specific set of surveying that's, once it's done, is basically not being able to be used again.
Well, the area they're surveying, I mean, if it's the spillway, it's going to be affected within the next year or two. So your LiDAR would not be true if you're going to change the spillway.
Right, but that's the only area that would be affected, the both sides, downstream or the top of the dam. I'm not sure LiDAR might even penetrate water a certain distance. I don't know. LiDAR was used down in Mexico to find some of the old ruins. And when they flew over stretches of the Mexican jungle, they found so many ruins that they never knew existed before because it penetrated the foliage and gave them a pretty accurate picture of what was down there.
Okay, I mean, here, the proposal, the survey that they're proposing includes plus additional surveying up for the lake bottom, the hillside above the channel walls, and the crest of the dam. The LiDAR does not include those, just so you know that.
I believe there would be no way for the LiDAR not to include them because the beam is not that focused. I mean, what that information we got from Winchester, from when the LiDAR was done in, I forget what the year, 2006. And they've made vast improvements in the information and the computers that process the information.
Okay,
on the ad hoc?
he is. He's on the flood mitigation.
Did you guys talk about that at ad hoc?
Yes. Now, we didn't have the proposal at the time of the meeting, so. Well, we're kind of urgent here to get this done so that we can beat, sprouting, leaf sprout.
Well, depending on how busy the LiDAR company is, that could be done probably next week, depending on how busy it is. It takes an airplane outfitted with the equipment.
But I don't have a proposal from them. I've got a number. I mean.
Well, that's an estimate by somebody that's into surveying. How accurate the number is, I don't know. I mean, I would hope it would be accurate, but I have no idea.
Sounds like we'd be delaying the entire project another month or two.
Yeah.
So I guess it's up to the board. They want to approve this at 19 with CMT, or you want to approve 26 and leave it open to who it's awarded to?
I want to do whatever keeps the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I with them.
So we're ready to vote on the motion then,
Well,
or?
we might be amending. Do you want to go to 26 then? Because that'll give you enough money for what Henry's? If you end up changing, yeah, this is a weird one.
Aren't we?
Get the number 26 if we don't have a quote from the LiDAR people.
It says in the proposal.
Oh, okay.
The two proposals were lump sum amounts of approximately 19 and 26.
Well, like Steve just said, if we change the number to 26, both options are still open.
Right.
Sean, somebody's up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob, or Bill.
Bill.
This is the whole purpose of this is to get information to prepare engineering prints and quotes for things. I don't know how one versus the other would be more accurate, and I don't know why the information from the $19,000 proposal would be gone. It's information that's there. I mean, they're gonna share drawings with us and stuff.
Okay, Sean,
Yes.
the surveying company that comes out and does a survey, a mechanical survey, they'll pick certain points and they'll use those points in the survey. Those points might be 5 feet apart, might be 10 feet apart. I do not know. The advantage of LiDAR is when they take the image, they get every point. And it basically goes on a disc, and then the computer interprets that information. But I can't say for certain. Their points might be an inch apart, they might be a foot apart.
Who's going to use the survey?
Yeah, CMT.
It's not us.
Right. I mean,
Right,
here, in the proposal, he says, we determined that our survey crew could achieve sufficient accuracy and with conventional survey equipment. We conferred with Kevin Miller of PSI regarding the accuracy required for a contractor to bid for rock removal. So what CMT is offering is sufficient.
Yeah.
Plus we get the Blake bottom, the hillside above the channel walls, and the crest of the dam. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know how much more Henry thinks that's going to cost, because they're going to use an aircraft, and they do use drones for that. It's a light emitting type of radar ranging, is what LiDAR is. But it's only accurate, from what I remember, it's only accurate to about 15 centimeters. If you do the math on that, it's really not that accurate, especially over a short distance, if we're talking about the dam and the spillway, because that's what we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The costs of these aircraft to do that are not insignificant.
No, but they're set up for it.
Aerial surveying, the aircraft and the operator has to be certificated. This is my line of work for 30 years.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if we get the amount, everything that CMT is going to survey, if we would get that from the LiDAR. I would be
Yes,
surprised.
LiDAR has a degree of accuracy or inaccuracy of 15 centimeters, and the mechanical surveying is comparable to that. why would you spend upwards of $4, $5, maybe $8,000 more
Right.
to get essentially the same information for
Yeah.
use?
And you'd be waiting an extra month to even do it.
Yeah.
You have to.
I thought Sean, go ahead, who's that, John?
Yeah, I say we go with the 19.
Yeah, and let me just read, I don't know if everybody heard what Sean read a minute ago. This is right from Ed LaBelle's quote. He said, "We determined that our survey crew could achieve sufficient accuracy with conventional survey equipment. We conferred with Kevin Millar and PSI Intertech regarding the accuracy required for a contractor to bid a rock removal." So that's really all we're trying to accomplish. So I think the 19 should look like. You guys ready to vote then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I will abstain.
I'll vote yes. 5 yes, 1 abstain. Henry abstained. Okay, good discussion. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thanks.
That was a good one.
We just
Got
saved
to- I think we got-
$7,000.
Yeah, I think we got to the right answer. Okay, am I up to 12:12? Okay, 12:12, capital projects.
I'd like to bring something up into that.
We've got a drop Roberts.
Okay, do I have a motion to drop Robert's rules?
So moved.
Second.
Tom and Bob.
Yep.
Everyone, can I get a yes or?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So, okay, so we're out of Robert's rules.
Right.
Okay, John, let me start if you don't mind. So I
No
can just
problem.
And so, I mean, we've talked a lot of flood mitigation, and we've, flood mitigation. So, with dredging, I know I said last month, I'm planning a meeting with Frentress. I've got that map finally, and what this is a map that shows the distances from each cove to the dredge ponds. What he needed then was elevation, so I am meeting with him next week to go over that. And what that will tell us is really for the north side of the lake is where we're most concerned. Do we pump everything into North Bay using a booster pump, or do we use Winchester also and split that? So that'll be the discussion I have with Frentress on that. And again, Frentress is just helping us with this. They know they have the opportunity to bid it, but they know that the project's not theirs for sure. We did talk with Randy Goodwin, who cleaned out some of the dredge ponds this past fall. And to ask him the best time to get in there, I thought maybe with frost still on the ground, it might be a good time, but he did say frost has to be out, so that'll have to be a summertime project that we clean those out. So if we can get those cleaned out this summer, we can get an idea of how we want to dredge the north side. Then I think it's time to start moving on RFP. And then talking to a consultant, somebody that could come in here and really their main project will be here during the dredge process of making sure that the amount of silt that we contract with the dredge company is what they're pumping out. And when I talked to the other lake associations that have gone to contract dredging, they said that's the most important thing. Because the RFP will say an amount that we want dredged out, so we need to make sure that we can confirm that. How they do that, I'm not quite sure at this time. So there will have to be a bathymetric study done prior to the RFP, so we know and have an updated idea of how much silt is in the lake. We did one in 17, but obviously things have changed in the 5 years since. What that does is basically probe and tells us how much silt is in each cove. And what we're looking at is at least a foot of silt in the lake level of 7 feet and less. If it's more than 7 feet, we don't care about it. If it's 6 inches of silt, we don't care about it either. So it's proceeding. I'm hoping in the next month to really get a lot of information and kind of have the board ready to make some decisions on that. And I don't see that. I'd be surprised if we could do it in 22, but definitely in 23, I think you could do that. So, okay. As far as the Memorial Pavilion, we're gonna wait on this, the putting of the extra designated funds into that. I did talk to the Recreation Commission on Thursday about their funds. They would be willing to put some. They didn't talk about an amount yet, but they would like the project to move further before they commit to that. They want to make sure that it's happening. They'd like to see how much we're spending and, when the time frame is for that. So I would say they're open to it, but they just need more information and a little further down the road before they decide to do that for sure. So as far as the pavilion itself, I guess, the next thing is the board. How do we proceed? If that's an ad hoc or if that's, if we just go to budget and talk to budget about that, or where you want to go with that, I'm not quite sure. So
It's also on the strategic long-range
It is,
planning
yes.
radar at this time, so.
Yeah.
Trying to get something moving there.
Right. So, and John, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I'd like to see the board and Apple Canyon do something about the pro shop. I'm not saying remodel the whole pro shop. I'm saying do something with the kitchen. It's the only place that's open in the wintertime that a lot of people go to. They don't even have a dishwasher. I've heard in the summertime, people complaining about waiting for their food because they got a tiny grill. We talked about can't keep employees. I know I've been back there one time and there's no way I'd be back there working in that small kitchen. I heard that there was plans that were out there at one time to remodel the whole golf pro shop thing. I don't believe that we need to do that. I just trying to say we need to expand the kitchen. We can do it in phases if you would like. I would just really like to see it brought up to the attention. And I think it would help the pro shop of keeping employees. I think if they get stuck back there, they do not like to be back in that little tiny kitchen. And I think that's part of our problem. During the winter months, it's the only place that's open. Everybody goes there. They don't want to go into town or something like that. It's big. We make big money from that pro shop. And I think some of it needs to go back into the pro shop. That's just my opinion. I'd like to see it brought up to us to get back on there to see about something happening with it. So,
John, I got a cheaper alternative. The Cove sits vacant all winter long.
Yes,
Move the staff from the pro shop to the Cove. They got a big kitchen and a big bar, and we don't have to build it.
and we had that discussion with many of people, and a lot of people probably wouldn't go down there because of the steep hill and all that stuff, be parking up there. You're also going to be sitting there and you're going to open up that Cove, which has got a huge ceiling. It's much bigger every night. It costs us a lot more in the utilities and stuff to do. So, which something you could use all year. We're not saying remodel the whole thing. I'm just saying the Cove is, I just don't think the Cove is efficient enough for the winter months. With the snow and stuff like that, where you're going to have. Those girls could be down there or guys could be down there and they could get snowed in a night and not get up the hill. Then you're going to try to get maintenance.
Do you ever walk up the hill to the pro shop in a snowstorm?
It's a lot steeper at the Cove.
But
I don't know why we can't update something that's there. And it'd be a lot cheaper for us over in the long run with utilities to they take care of the golf course compared to the Cove.
John, we had an ad hoc that looked at that about 4 years ago. So let me pull some stuff from that and I can send it to you, see if you've got it. Yeah, Roger, you were part of that.
As part of
Several
that,
times
we
with
can't
John
expand that kitchen over there. If we did, we'd have to flow a lot of rock out of there. There's a big hunk of rock there. And I mean, it costs us a fortune to do that. I think at the time it was around $250,000.
I thought that was the number, but I couldn't remember
I mean,
specifically.
I think, but I'd say to replace that, maybe we could go out where that open area is and add a kitchen onto that, but you can't do it where it's at.
Can't really go north. You'd have to go west.
You gotta go west.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how much rock's under that.
Didn't there used to be a basement under before it burned down?
Well, Joe Foreman told me when they built that golf course or that pro shop, they had to get rid of a lot of rock that they had to blow out of there,
But they blew out enough because there used to be a basement underneath the pro
That
shop.
I couldn't answer.
That's where they stored paint that blew up and burned the place to the ground.
I've brought that up many times, as you know, Sean, about the association taking over the Cove Restaurant. It's just a sin to let that building sit there and age without it being utilized.
It's your overhead though, and a lot of people in the winter time are gone out of here. We could not support that down there.
No, and the girls to stay and clean it and everything else. The golf course, I don't know. Did you guys look behind like the first hole to put up a wall and stuff like a burnt?
That's a big rock.
Yeah, there's a lot of rock here, John.
That's huge.
Sean, I'd really like to see those plans.
Yeah, let me pull them out and I'll get them to you next week.
Thank you.
Like a John Wayne movie, go west, young man. That's the only direction you can build on.
Yeah, you could.
That's all I've got.
All right.
I got it.
Sean,
Hold on, Roger has the floor.
And then
That dirt that we got up on the north end, what are you planning to sell? Are you digging up? What are you planning to do with that?
The silt pond dirt is free. I know we've contacted all of the townships around and quite a few are gonna want it. The up at North Bay,
I'd like you to get hold of Hiking Next down in Morrison. They sell peat, piles of it, and then mix it with that. In my cattle confinement, they used to come and get the manure, haul it away, everything.
Okay.
Maybe we could get some of our costs through them.
Yeah.
Isn't Dean, the road commissioner, interested in it?
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
Dean's taken a lot and he needs more.
But there's a lot there.
But yeah, oh yeah, there is, yeah.
Dean
Yeah,
isn't even, he's not even using that dirt. He's storing it in different places out in farms. If you head out past Kenny Keister, you can see one of the piles he's storing. It's gotta be 40 feet high.
But I mean, we might as well reap some benefits if we can off from it. They'd come and load it and take it.
That's great. Yeah, I would say talk with Maddie or Ed over at maintenance. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Cause yeah, we've got it.
Joe, you wanted to say something? Oh, wait, Henry, you wanted something first. Go ahead, Henry.
on your dredging, if you're planning to pump the dredgement along ways, that's very easily possible. But you have to remember the dredge hoses stretch that way. So if you're pumping stuff from Winchester Bay up to North Bay, that means all the docks on the northeast side of that hose, those boats are basically locked in. They cannot get out.
When you dredge, the pipe should sink. So I mean, and there's gonna have to be education. Yes, I completely agree. And when that happens, we'll also determine what education needs to happen. But yes.
And the same thing for coves further down on the lake is what it's gonna basically amount to is maybe when they're dredging one cove, but for the weekend, they're gonna have to move the dredge to the center of the lake so people can get back and forth around the dredge hose.
I completely agree. Yep. All that will have to be in the education part and part of the RFP. And it's a decision. Do you go 7 days a week, 12 hours a day and knock it out in 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Or do you go 5 days a week and keep the weekends open? It's a decision, but it's also going to be determined by when you do it. If you wait till fall, that's going to make a little bit of a difference. But if you want to knock it out in the summer or early spring, that's also determination.
We have newspaper articles from the last time they dredged, and I'm not sure. I think they were here for 90 days. And they had a quite powerful dredge. And they believe they were working 6 days a week, but I can't swear to that. I think that was in the articles in the newspaper.
Yeah, and I thought it was 7 weeks at Lake Carroll when they did it last, but all that will have to be determined. I agree. Yep.
Lake Carroll's a smaller lake.
No, it's a bigger lake.
Bigger lake.
Well, but the smaller distances there are ponds.
No, actually, it's longer.
Okay.
They only have 2 ponds.
Joe's next.
I was just gonna say, the entrance out here is not handicap accessible, and that could be a polling place problem, because it's one of the restrictions on whether or not this can be a polling station is handicap accessibility. So that's something to think about, which did get mentioned in that.
Okay.
Well,
I feel bad for the people that work in the office. And, you know, that whole thing over there was supposed to be fixed.
Joe?
Which also included meeting rooms. And so that's another thing I think ought to be considered for the project, speaking as an architect.
yes, and I would agree. And with, as far as the concrete out there, actually Ed and I met with Leanan last fall, and he's interested in doing that as trade out. He loves the dirt, so.
I can do the drawings.
Yeah, so.
We can do those in-house.
Yeah, so that could be something that could happen this year still. But yeah, I mean, we've talked with them already, and they're interested in doing that for trade out for dirt, so, yeah.
Sean, if people from the audience want to say something, I have no problem with it, but it'd be nice if I could hear them.
They're talking about you, Henry.
Oh, okay.
Only good things. George, you got one last thought?
Yes, before the meeting closes, I want to compliment the board by allowing the membership here to get involved in discussions and ideas on these topics today.
Thanks. And before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I just want to thank everyone that helped me through today, especially the guy sitting next to me, Sean Nordley. Not just for the last week that he helped me, but for the last 2 years, he's been quite a mentor to me, not just as a board member, but as treasurer. And I'm sad to report today that he's been offered a fantastic opportunity out east, the general manager of bigger association. So I believe he'll be here next board meeting, but in the next month or so, Sean will be handing over his responsibilities to several different people as we search for a replacement. So, you know, he's more than just a general manager to me, really has become quite a friend. And sorry, I didn't think that was gonna happen. So I'm gonna miss him a lot. I think he's done a lot. He's got us in a really good spot. The good news is, I think the association's in a great spot today versus when he first came on, from what I've heard. Yeah. So we got a big task, but you know, situations like this, we'll get through it. We're a big association, a lot of people, you know, it's a time for all of us. I'm hoping it's a time will come and be a little more unified. You know, just the amount of people that show up to these board meetings and the amount of great ideas we all have, we'll figure a way through it. But, you know, it's a time for we're all gonna have to step up a little because we got some big shoes to fill. So I wish you and your family the best of luck. I know we'll see a little bit more around here in the next month or so, but it's gonna be a big challenge, but I think we can do it. Does anybody want to add to that?
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
With that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
We got to reinstate.
Oh, I have to reinstate Robert's
Yeah.
rules.
So
Okay.
move to reinstate. Second.
Second.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
I'll move to adjourn. I'll take my spot.
It wasn't quite what I thought I was gonna say, but the tears helped.
All right, have a good day, everybody.
You did a good job today. Nice job. Good job today, Steve. Yes.
Thanks, Rhonda.
Sean, I'm sad to hear that you're leaving.
Well, I'll be here probably for another.
Okay, well, best of luck to you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
I think there should be a way you reconsider, Sean. I think we learn a lot from your meetings.
Gordy.